Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today's video is inspired by you. Let me share with you why. In the middle of December, when my fifth daughter, Chloe, turned 13, I had shared on Instagram stories that her father and I were planning on taking her to our financial institution so that she could open up a high school account. This is an account where you get a debit card. This is something that we have done with all of our children. Bear in mind, we have 5 children ranging from the age of 25 down to our 13-year-old. 4 of our children are adults. We have 2 still in the home. We have an 18-year-old that is a senior in high school, and then we have our daughter who just recently turned 13. We have done this high school account with every one of our children at the age of 13. I'm going to ask you to hold tight, and I will talk more about that account and how it works, and that's going to be in a later video. Another resource that I put out was a couple days after Christmas, I published a video on YouTube encouraging you to start planning right at the beginning of January for your Christmas 2019. I will have that video linked in the drop-down box below. I will also have other videos on budgeting as well as a couple blog posts that I strongly encourage you to check out that do talk about what we've done with our children when they were younger, and they will complement this video. Now let me share that this is going to be probably a 2-part series, maybe a 3-part series. So hold tight on your questions until I get all of those videos out, because something that you may be interested in me talking about could end up in one of those videos. Because it is so overwhelming, and we really are teaching and training our children from a very young age, with concepts and principles being much different when they are little versus when they are a teenager, I felt it would be advantageous for me to break it down and do more than one video. So today's video is going to focus more on very small children. What do you do with your children to lay the foundation when it comes to money, budgeting, being financially fit, with the intention that when your children are teenagers, you can continue to cultivate those principles that you planted the seed with so early on. In the next video, I will talk about that high school account that we open when our children are 13 and how we utilize that as a teaching opportunity. I will also talk about cars and braces, college education, weddings, all of those type of things. So if you are interested in hearing more about that, make sure you are subscribed. Ring the bell so you get a notification when that video goes out. In the meantime, we are going to hone in today on tips and tools for when your children are young, and I'm going to share with you what my husband and I have done. One thing that you have to bear in mind with children is that they are heavily influenced by their parents when they are little. When they get to about teenage status, even younger nowadays because of social media, they are heavily influenced by their peers, celebrities, and other outside influences. It's much different than when we were growing up. That is why it is imperative that you lay that foundation when they are really young and you continue to cultivate it until they are out of the nest. That being said, at a very young age, we're talking toddlers, our children are sponges. They are observing every single thing that we do and they are mimicking it. So what you show in the home is going to make the biggest impact on your children. It is not so much what you tell them, but more what you show them. With our children, when they were very small, I would say about toddler age, that is when we started to use the word no, and we used it very often. We started to acclimate our children into knowing that they cannot have everything that they want. I think it's a big mistake to wait till it's too late to do that. It's never too late, but you will have a much more difficult time if you do wait. So toddler age, you are already teaching them that sometimes we do without. As they get to be about preschool age, you can even go a little bit deeper on that, meaning you don't always have to have the best of everything. Believe me, as your children get older, if this foundation was built, they will already be acclimated to it, and therefore they rarely will even question anything. And when they get to the age of, let's say, 7, 8, 9, and they are watching some of their friends get cell phones, very expensive tech things, way overpriced clothing and accessories for that age, sporting gear that is over the top and just not necessary. If they are acclimated to their parents considering their purchases before they make them and communicating that often to their children, again, that seed will already be planted. Let's talk about allowance. I have been asked many times what my thought process on allowance is, and did we give our children allowance? My husband and I chose to not give our children allowance. Our belief was that being part of the family meant it was your responsibility to pitch in. Running a household is teamwork. Children should have chores just like parents do. Parents don't get paid to do chores, they get paid to go to work. We felt that children should be the same. Doing chores was a responsibility, and that came with running a household. Going to work was when you received income. We were happy with that decision, and if they had friends that received allowance, which they did have many, if they had questioned us, which I don't even know that I really remember being questioned, but if they did, we just explained to them that people do different things in different homes and that is okay. The important thing is to teach your kids that people do things different and it's okay. We explained to them what our belief was when it came to allowance, and that is when we had the opportunity to explain to them that you work to get paid, but making your bed, unloading the dishwasher, taking care of your dirty dishes, bringing your dirty laundry down to the laundry room, those were necessities and those were life skills that you will be doing your whole life, and you won't get paid or rewarded when you are an adult. Therefore, we felt we were preparing them for their adult life. That decision served us well. I am not opposed at all with children receiving allowance if that is what somebody chooses to do in their home. A lot of people will, because they believe this is an opportunity to teach your children about money, about budgeting. My advice, if you do that, is, like I talk in many videos, it's follow through. It's one thing to have good intentions, to utilize the allowance tool to educate your children on budgeting and saving, but if you aren't following through with that approach, they really aren't learning anything at all. If you are going to give your children allowance and you're going to take them to Target to shop, that would be a great opportunity. We chose not to do that method, but it still worked out for us because we were still always talking about money, talking about bills. We didn't save these conversations for when my husband and I were in privacy. This was an open dialogue that we always shared right at the dinner table. When our children were little, and if we went to the store or we went to the movies or we went to the circus or we did something like that, our kids already knew that you don't get everything. If you recall, when you would go to the circus, they had those light up colorful wands. They were like $20, $30 to pick up something like that. If you get the kids popcorn and a snow cone and you ride the elephant and the camel and you do all of these things, it becomes very lavish. And for us, with a large family and 5 children, lavish was just never in the cards. You are spread too thin when you have 5 children. That probably made it a little bit easier for us to teach our children that you don't always get what you want. We didn't go after the Happy Meals because you did pay for that toy. Was it necessary? Do you need more toys? No, you don't need to have all these things. It's not necessary. Our kids didn't get things when we went to the store. They got things when it was Valentine's Day, when it was Easter, when it was their birthday, when it was Christmas. That is when they received things. Our kids never asked for anything at the store because we never bought anything. And if we did buy them something, if we were out shopping, it was planned and discussed ahead of time. Whining was never acceptable. If you whined, you didn't get. This is so important because if children are whining and then they are receiving, there's a message being sent to them that if I complain and I whine and I fuss, I am going to get what I want. You want to teach your children how to speak properly when they want something. Mom, can I please have some candy? That is when you would have an opportunity to say yes or no. You also have to take in consideration, when do we reward our children just for behaving well? We didn't reward our children if they behaved well because behaving well was expected. So again, our kids really never got anything. There was too many. You couldn't go to Target and buy 5 kids something. It just would be too costly. Groceries enough was providing for our children. You only received gifts and extras when it was a special event, and they were used to it. They never asked. The kids never asked for candy checking out. They were able to go to a store and they weren't fussing. But again, we didn't tolerate it from the get-go. So it really goes back to those early years in planting that seed. I also want to talk about birthday parties. Now again, we had 5, so if we had 5 luxury, glamorous birthday parties, that would be too costly. We chose certain ages where you did get to have a little bit nicer birthday party where you could invite a few friends. This wasn't 30 friends, this would be like 8 friends, 5 friends, something like that. So certain ages is when you had your birthday party. Again, these things were always communicated, so therefore they never asked. What has happened, and it is so sad, and it really is more on competition, I believe, than anything, is children's birthday parties have gotten so glamorized, you would think that they had a big milestone or they had gotten married or something like that. Parents are spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars sometimes to have a birthday party for their children. And they are doing this year after year after year. And I can assure you, people aren't paying cash for these parties. So what is happening if you have 2, 3 children and all of those kids are having a lavish party, then they're having a family party on top of the children's party. Not that there is anything wrong with celebrating your kids' birthdays, but is it necessary to glamorize it? Again, let's go back to observation. If they are observing you glamorizing their birthday parties year after year after year from the time they turn 1, what do you think they are going to expect by the time they are 16? Let's just say you had to cut back. Try explaining that to your child when they're so used to all the bells and whistles. Pick a couple birthdays, 1 or 2, to have a little bit pricier than the norm birthday party, and that's it. And communicate that to your children. And you don't fuss when you don't get it. The rest of the birthdays can be just with the grandparents or cousins, aunts and uncles. Also on the off years, they could have one friend stay the night and maybe you could take them to the movies or ice skating, roller skating, a trampoline park, whatever. But it's going to be way more affordable to take one friend to the trampoline park than to take 15. I'm sure my point has been made, but if you sum it up, it's not so much about giving them money at this age and teaching them how to save and how to spend. You can get to that. It's building off of the foundation of teaching them that we don't always get what we want, just like mom and dad don't. We have to sacrifice. We have to say no to something to say yes to something else. Sometimes we do get what we want, but we might not get exactly what we want or as nice. School shopping. School shopping at the beginning of the year. We might not be able to get all of the brand name clothing, but you still get to pick out what you want. And that's an opportunity to teach your kids how you can be stylish and look great on a budget. It's teaching them that you don't have to get a souvenir everywhere you go. You will get toys and gifts on holidays. You don't have to walk away from everything that you go to with a trinket or souvenir. If you do this from the get-go, you'll never have to explain why they can't have something, because they will just expect that they are not always going to get it. If you go to the movie theater, do they need to have the slushie, the popcorn, and candy and watch the movie? Look how expensive that would be for a family that has 5 children. They don't have to have everything. It's not that it's wrong, it's is it necessary? Is it necessary? If you have questions, comments in regards to today's video, please put them in the comment section below. Be patient. A follow-up video will come out where I talk about what we do about earning money starting at the age of 13, and when we really take those early principles and apply them later on to where now they have to be the one cutting back, making that decision, saying no so they can say yes to something else. The parents no longer have to do that. They just planted the seed to get them there. Thank you for being with me today. Don't forget to check out the budgeting content in the drop-down box, and I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.